Hey, this is Bryan Tann, and I mean, for everybody that watched or listened to any of our conversations in the past, this is the same guy in one hand, but it's also a very different guy in another hand because he's been transforming himself and has done an incredible job.
No, thank you very, very much, my friend. I really, really appreciate that. I really, really do. Yeah, man, it's literally just been I've been on this journey and I'm seeing the fruits of my labor, so to speak.
Hmm.
And it just gets more and more amazing by the day. I really feel like I'm rediscovering my body for the first time. It's amazing.
Well, it's great when you actually are healthy. Like I don't think people really like I've been very fortunate, good genes. I'm 40 years old. I still look like I'm 12, except I can actually grow a bit like a goatee, right? But I relatively good. I indulge, but I mean I'm not crazy. I walk. I'm fit. I move everywhere. I do everything. I just my own feet and power. So I've always been able to be in good shape, and I'm never sick. Like I've had one flu in 25 years. Like that's and I
That's
get like
not
a
bad.
yeah, and I get like a common cold like once every 5. So it's like I don't get sick. Like I do take care of myself. There are things I definitely do that way to make sure I don't get sick. And it's good because it keeps your mind like I don't have mental issues. I have we all have insecurities, don't get me wrong, but a sound body, sound mind really, really is true.
It really is. And the one thing that I've noticed since I've gone on this journey is that I feel much more confident, but I'm also not getting reckless. And, I was always a guy that was pretty active, even when I was, heavy. I went into high school at 220 pounds, but I was playing football, I was wrestling. I left high school at about between 250 and 260, but I was pushing over 1,000 pounds in the leg press. I was bench pressing 300 pounds. I was powerful. And
Hmm.
then I went to go from 275 to 215. I did that in 3 months, not in the most healthy of fashion. This is back when I was in my 20s, but I was pretty solid. And even when I stopped working out and put on weight, I was still active. It wasn't until I got into my 30s and depression hit and my life changed that I started packing on weight. Next thing I know, holy crap, I'm over 300 pounds. Fast forward and I'm into my early 40s and I'm close to 400 pounds, and then I start, exercising to do what I need to do, doing DDP yoga, but I'm trying to out train a bad diet, which you cannot do. You
No.
cannot out train a bad diet, you know. And but I was feeling stronger, and then I get into the gym and I'm working out and I'm feeling good. And it's like, well, I can put up 300 pounds like I did when I was 20, and there goes my shoulder. And then I just give up. I just quit. And then as time goes on, the world starts going crazy after the murder of George Floyd, and then I realize I'm afraid to leave the house, not just because of COVID, but because if me or my wife are approached by someone that means us harm, I can't protect us.
Hmm.
And then, my mother had COVID, and I'm making phone calls that I don't want to make. I'm down and out. And then I get a phone call and I never answer blocked numbers, but something told me to answer the call. And it was, a man that I looked up to as a kid, Diamond Dallas Page, the founder of DDP Yoga. He just goes, Brian. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, DDP. And I'm like, what's up? How's it going? And he's like, and then he broke it down, man. And he was like, look, how serious are you about wanting to re-own your life? And I said, I need to do something. And he goes, well, this is what I'm going to do. And he broke down how he could help me. And he said, if you listen to me, If you let me guide you, I can help you, but I can't help you unless you let me help you. And from that day, I cut out the stuff that wasn't good for me. I started eating gluten free and dairy free, no more fried foods. And it was a process. It was a long and difficult process. But then the next month, I wasn't in the 380s, 390s. I was in the 370s to the 360s, and then the 340s, and then lower. And then it's like, oh, I'm never going to get out of the 300s. Next thing I know, January 1st, 2021, I'm 288 pounds. And then I keep going and keep going. July 1st, I'm 218 pounds. Now I'm between 215 and 220, still trying to work, working on getting it off.
Yep. Well,
It's not easy. It's not easy, but it's worth
no, I'm gonna. Again, I'm certainly like it's working for you. I'm certainly not trying to tell you what to do. I just there's you've hit the point in this. It sounds like to me. You still want to get better. I'm not sure the weight number matters anymore because the reason I say that is you all the excess, a lot of the excess is gone. Right? Now it's about refinement.
right.
Right. Getting it to the point where like you're comfortable, you're happy with where you're at. It's what it sounds like. Am I wrong on that, or
You're right and you're wrong. I'm in a middle ground
yeah?
where I'm comfortable where I'm at, but I'm not quite where I want to be.
No, I got you.
But I'm very happy. I'm very comfortable. I'm very pleased. I'm very happy with where I'm at now. I'm burning calories even when I'm at rest
Yeah,
at this point. And when I'm like, I'll shoot hoops and I wear my heart rate monitor when I'm shooting hoops. And I'm burning 500 calories in under an hour just from shooting hoops. And then when I'm hitting a heavy bag, number one, I'm hitting a heavy bag with a lot more force than I ever have. But I'm not getting as winded or as tired. So
no,
it's like my body is responding to everything positive that I do. And when I do indulge, because I'm still trying to stay gluten free and dairy free. But there's a couple of ice cream places that are near my house now or near where I teach classes that do oat milk. They do the dairy free options. And I'll indulge now and
sure.
again
Like
it's summer.
well, it's not like that. It's normal. Nobody's perfect, and also we all have our things. Um, you did a very difficult, like the gluten fried food stuff. That's super hard to do. Like that first month's a killer when you do it.
Oh my God. I was so mean and angry.
Yeah,
I couldn't have pizza. I couldn't have pasta. I couldn't have potatoes. I couldn't have hoagies. Those are all staples of my diet at the time. And going gluten free and dairy free. Oh, thank goodness there are gluten free and dairy free options. Like there's amazing dairy free cheeses that are amazing that are plant based. There's gluten free breads that are very, very good.
yeah,
And you can you can still get the same kind of, I guess, the same kind of flavor and taste without the stuff that's not good for you. So, and it's not easy. You got to
no.
work, you got to train yourself, but you get there if you want to.
Oh no, absolutely no. Like there's a point with it. Like there's a point with everything where it kind of like gives. Like there's a
Right.
giving, right? And when you until that point, it's a bitch. But once
It
you
really
get to
is.
that point, it suddenly goes to a different like mental shift, right?
Right.
Right. And once it goes to that
Right.
mental shift, it's you still got what like I'm sure there were days you lost some everywhere every so often too. But even so, um, it's easier. You're managing yourself, you're balancing yourself, and what you're basically learning how to do it. I like what again, and now you've gotten down to like the um now that you're kind of down to like not quite where you want to be, but very close to where you want to be. Now more than anything, it's just about maintenance, which is
Mhm.
hard because it's like I got this, and that can be a trap in and of itself sometimes,
Right.
right? But it's still like you're not at that stage you were. I don't think you're ever going to get there again.
Oh, never.
Right? Not
Never,
never.
never.
But I mean, there's going to be points. There's going to be points where you're going to be exactly where you want to be, and there's still going to be points where you're going to be a little bit not where you want to be, and you're going to like. There's going to be, how do I put this? There's a bound. There's a. I did a.
There's going to be valleys and plateaus. There's
valleys
going to
and
be
plateaus,
moments.
but also I just think the balance of discipline, right?
Right.
There's a balancing
Absolutely.
point with discipline. You can't be disciplined all the time. It's very hard to do that. But what you right, everybody has their what you got to give yourself those allowing points to cheat, and then you go like, oh, okay, I'll cheat today, but tomorrow or the day after the day, like I'm back on what I'm doing, and that confidence to do that, and that discipline, mental discipline to do that, that is probably the biggest balance for the rest of your life. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, and it's also not even thinking about it as cheating. Think of it as just, you know what? I'm going to have a higher calorie day than normal.
Yep.
And that's fine. That's okay. But you know what? I'm going to get back to, but the next day, I'm going to get back on track. I'm going to do what I need to do. And the thing is, once you get to a certain point, when your body gets to a certain point, it's burning fuel even when it's at rest. So you'll be able to burn that stuff off. And then when you go to work out, you'll be able to burn off the rest, and it's okay. And it takes time. And that's one thing that I have to remind myself. I didn't gain the weight right away. I didn't lose the weight right away. The weight's not all going to come back right away.
No.
And it's just a matter of having a balance, having discipline, and having control.
Yeah.
And that's really, at the end of the day, what it's all about.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny because I'm about to go through another adjustment myself. Actually, I was planning to do some temp work for the next 2 weeks just to get some money coming in. Yesterday, I got a phone call from the temp that they didn't want my services there anymore, and it's weird. After 3 days, I didn't do anything to warrant that. That was the thing that really blew me away. But I kind of just took it as the message it was. I ain't supposed to be doing that stuff no more. Right? That's what basically that's what it told me. So now I got to figure out what that next thing
is gonna be.
Yeah, because now it's just like, okay, you know what? Message received. Like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like that in that vein as well. I'm establishing a business where I'm currently a DDP Yoga level 1 instructor in training. So I'm looking to start a business where I teach people DDP Yoga. I start teaching fitness. I'm going to start teaching self-defense. But I'm also going for my master's degree. I'm looking to get my MBA. I feel like that's what I'm meant to do. I need to be continuously attempting to improve and find where I'm supposed to be. And, life, I think one of the things that we as people, whether you're religious or not religious or whatever, we get to a point, whether you believe in God or fate or whatever, we get to a point where we expect a higher power to just do it for us. Or everything is just right there. Signs are not these big glaring, hey, you've got to watch for them and you've got to follow. And you have to look for the subtleties in it. I remember the film, The Pursuit of Happiness, and with Will Smith and his son Jaden Smith, where he plays Chris Gardner, who was a man that went from homeless to stockbroker. And his son was telling him a joke where there was a guy drowning in the ocean, and a boat came by and said, hey, we can save you. And he goes, no, that's okay. God's going to save me. So the boat left. Another boat comes by and goes, hey, we can help you. And he goes, no, God's going to save me. Well, then the guy drowned. He goes up to the heaven. And he goes, God, I prayed to you. Why didn't you save me? He goes, well, I sent you 2 boats. What more do you want me to do? And that's the way it works. God, fate, circumstance, whatever you look at, it's not going to do it for you. The opportunities are there, but you have to have the wisdom, the vision, the patience, and the mindset to take your opportunities and make your own opportunities. Because as you start making your opportunities, then more opportunities come.
Absolutely. No, it was just like I said, like for me, I decided to go fully into freelance writing. Like last month, there was like a layoff, and I was like, okay, I've got some money for a bit. My first week of doing like, but again, freelancing is a journey in of itself. My
Right.
very first week freelancing, I made more money that week for a weekly paycheck. It's my first time I've ever done a living wage with a freelance as a writer freelancer ever, right?
Nice.
I did. It made more money that week than I ever did working for anybody. So the
Oh,
potential
wow.
that's really cool, right? But
Yeah,
the
I mean, you
second
were
and
talking about that the last time we talked, that that's what you were going to do.
yeah, and then the second and third week, I have money coming in, but now it's in like this mysterious ether thing. So now I'm in this weird place where part of me thinks I should go back to work for a steady check at least every so often, which I'm good with. But at the same time, it's like I got to keep making my opportunities. I got to keep going, and it's going to be an uncomfortable process the whole way. The only exception to that for me is I just I got a call a little bit a while ago from a recruiting firm in Calgary, right? For a corporate job that would be a writing job. It's a writing job for a big firm. I do that because that's
Mhm.
exactly what I want to do, right? Something like that would be a challenge and different. But it has to be something like that, or it has to be, or I'm just going to be freelancing, be offering my
Just keep
podcasting.
freelancing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
it.
mean, yeah, why would you take steps backwards? That
Exactly.
makes no sense.
Yeah.
That's why, I'm in a position now. And the one thing that I've discovered in my weight loss journey is I'm far more confident than I used to be. I'm
Hmm.
not just going to accept any sort of treatment from anybody like
No.
I used to. And especially now, and I was talking to my advisor about this. She goes, with most places, when you put down that you're going for your master's degree, that the only thing that's better than that is saying you have your master's degree.
Hmm.
Like you're going to start getting your choice of whatever you want. And I like the sound of that because it's
Hmm.
like now I don't have to eat anybody's crap with anything. And it could be one of those, let's just say I'm working for someone else. I don't like the way I'm being talked to. I don't like the way I'm being treated. I don't have to sit here and bite my tongue and like go home emotionally distraught because I have to put up with somebody because I need the job. I can just walk and be confident and do my thing. And it's like, look, I don't have to take that. So you can either start treating me with respect or you're going to have to replace me with somebody else. Because not everyone walking this earth has a master's degree.
No. So it
And it's
goes.
cool that you're in that position.
Yeah. Well. See, I don't got a master's degree or anything like that.
Right, but you're writing and you're doing your own thing and you can make a living and keep yourself afloat doing what you love to do. And then
Getting
if you
there.
do go and do a regular job, you don't have to take nobody's crap.
See, so it's mostly. I think it's a wiring point. I'm not quite there. I'm working on it. There's going to be ups. There's going to be downs. There's going to be lefts. Like, and that's where I'm at. I'm at that point right now where it's like I get paid. I'm going. So far this month, I'm making more money doing my own thing than I'm going to doing anything else. Now, it's not. It wouldn't pay the rent right this month so far. But we're at August 5th. We'll see where
Yeah,
I get to by August 31st.
right.
There's a confidence that has to come with that. But here's the thing. This is the point you get to when you start doing your own. Like when you start pursuing your own things, whether it's a master's, whether it's DDP yoga, whether it's writing, anything. You start learning how capable you really are.
Right.
I think this is the thing, Bryan. You there's a lot of people that would have been where you were at a year ago
Hmm.
and quit and stayed and just slowly die.
Yeah,
A lot of people would have quit,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
You look where you're at.
Absolutely.
Like it says an awful lot about you as a person of what you've overcome. Now, here's what happens when you start doing things. Like we both have published books. I've
Hmm.
done 600 episodes of a podcast. You've done whatever you've done in that field as well. I don't know any of your numbers and stuff like that, but you've done.
About two about in my most recent ventures and with the Plotaholics podcast that I co-host with my good friend Shane Wilson. I've done well over 100 episodes of that, and I'm coming up on 52 episodes of my sports talk podcast, the Tandemonium Sports Show, because I do that weekly. So yeah, and that's not even counting the stuff that I did guest starring on, being a guest on your show or any of Joe Compton's, Brad Pitt's,
Absolutely.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Like, there's a point in this. This is why I knew. Like, I even knew when I was going into this temp job, I wasn't going to last too long. Was I'm wired differently than when I was 2 years ago. I'm wired to the point. It's like I've already proven to myself that I can get paid for my writing. I've already proven to myself I can get paid for my podcasting. That's like, honestly, I got awards, like my writing and my podcasting have both been up for awards, right? So I'm good, and I know it. I've accomplished this,
right?
So I can go up, and it doesn't matter like whether it's like a job here. I don't have to. I'm not going to take your crap because I already know. Like what I do on my own has taught me that I don't need to take anybody's crap, right?
And that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's where you're at. Like, it's not just the masters. That's cool. Again, not a lot of people have that, but it's not the fact that even that a lot of people have or have not. You have done and accomplished many different things, and that adds up. And eventually, you come to this realization. This is a big one. Everything in life is a negotiation. Everything.
Absolutely.
Right.
You got to give and take with everything in this world. You got to negotiate and compromise certain things.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the thing. But once you realize that, like once you actually realize that, you never look at a day job the same way ever again.
No,
because you can't. Because what happens is you and I can go, it's like, well, this isn't how it should be. And we know this deep down in our soul, right? And for like, I'm not necessarily going to care what a boss tells me. I'm not saying I won't do what a boss tells me to do in terms of doing a job, but I'm not
going to take it to heart.
No, I'm not going to take it to heart. I am not going to let anything I do outside of my goals. I'm not going to carry it with me.
Right.
That's something that a lot of people do.
Because they don't know any different, because they're surviving. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Listen, please don't think that I'm sitting here and I'm impugning anyone on how you choose to live. You're in spots where you're at, and there's some folks that are going to be, I'm not saying you in particular, John, I'm saying in general, but we're all in different aspects of our lives. Me, I choose to live by 90-10. I cannot control 90% of what's going in my life. All I can control is the 10%, which is my reaction to what goes on. So I can't control how a boss or a coworker or someone sees me, or if they like me that day, or what mood they're in, what's going on with their life, whatever, however they choose to react. I can choose how I react to them. I can either curse them out, I can let them ruin my day, which gives them control, or I can just walk away and just be like, you know what? I don't care. You're not going to ruin my joy. You're not living in my headspace. You're just another human being. You're nobody to me, which doesn't mean that I see people as being beneath me, but it means you aren't so important in my stratosphere that you're going to influence me in any sort of way.
So I said this actually to some people at the day jobs, like, I don't control, like, I don't care about the result, like how many pieces go through that line or not. Doesn't matter to me. It's not my job. My job is to do my part the best I can while I'm here. That's it. I don't care about that number. It doesn't matter. I'm not paid to care for that number. All I'm paid to do is, what do you want me to do? I'll do it to the best of my ability. And you know, if apparently I wasn't good enough because it let me go, but at the same time, it's like, okay. I mean, there was nothing else I could have done.
Well, I think you saying that you're focusing on you and not everything else. That's probably, you know, and some folks don't like that. They don't like to hear people feeling free.
I'll be right back. I gotta answer this call.
Yeah, sure.
How you doing? Hello. This is Joshua. I'd be okay to do it, except I don't know how, like, where I visit on a bus route. Then, no, no, I have to. Yeah, it was whereas so it or not, but it's And going back to what I was saying here, sorry everybody, that was actually a staffing agency asking for a job I had no way to get to. It's all good. I mean, it's part of the game. But here's the thing: like an older version of me would have done anything in their power to get there, would have lied, cheated, and steal. Now I'm like, nope.
Now it's why do I need to even bother?
Yeah. Right.
And the thing is, at the end of the day, I think that we as individuals here in, North America, we have been programmed in a way to sort of kiss up to, I don't even want to use the term kiss up to, but for lack of a better word, kiss up to those that we see in power, our employers, right? And do everything we can to make them happy and show them loyalty. Meanwhile, maybe if we show them loyalty, they'll show us loyalty. And that's not the way it happens. That's not the way it works. That's not the real world.
No.
There is no loyalty. The day you die, they might send flowers, but they are going to fill your spot like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then do everything they can to get someone in there that makes less than you. Yeah. Just because your death is a way for them to prosper.
Well, the other thing that most people have to realize too, like this is the way it is. It's not. I'll tell you what it is, because it's part of what's going on right now too. We have a tendency in situations where there's a crisis to. It's not that we necessarily think they're good or bad, but they're an established order. They're familiar. It's a system it's in place. Yeah, it might suck, but it's the devil we know. And right, so there's that tendency. But here's the thing, right? And this is something, again. It doesn't, when you're younger you don't realize this, but when you're older you do. You don't have to cooperate. You don't. And again, life is a negotiation. Right. You want my cooperation specifically,
then you need to give me something.
Yeah. What am I getting out of this?
Right. And are you going to start treating me like a human being? Are you going to start showing me the respect that I need to be showed? What are you going to do for me to make it worth my while? Oh, well, you get to still have a job. Yeah. There's many of those out there. What else you got? Oh, nothing? All right. See you. Bye. Fill my spot with someone else.
What's just it like? Okay, so where I am, the city I'm in right now, there's approximately a $1 difference between working in a factory and working at McDonald's on average.
Wow.
That's the reality. That's the reality of the situation. So to me, it's like, well, if I can flip a burger, right, and make this much money, right, and I'm only making 75 cents more an hour on average, more working somewhere else and killing myself, what am I doing?
Yeah,
right.
Flip that burger.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Until I get sick of it and I got somewhere else that I want to be.
Oh, that thing is, I like, or the other reality of the situation is like what I'm actually quietly doing. It's like the phone call last week from the corporate job just made me realize, like, you know what? I don't really have to stay here, and I probably shouldn't. If this is all that's all there is here, it's just time to go. All right. Yeah. So right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's just time to go. And like I said, I've been and that's it. Like my goal is like no matter what happens, like this isn't my own negotiation. Like these are the terms I've conditioned. I'm going to keep freelance writing, podcasting, offering like doing editing stuff. And we'll talk about like one of the reasons you charge what you charge as a freelancer is what you just said. It's about respect. Ironically, this is how the world works. Um, it's here's the deal. I'm going to keep doing this regardless of what happens around me, and go from there. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, that's totally fine, right?
Right.
March 2021. Even if I got absolutely nothing to my name, I really don't care. I'll just start. I'll go where I want to go because, honest to God, there's no. What's anyone going to do? Stop me? Right? I mean, that's what it comes down to, right? I don't give a shit.
Right. And why
right?
should you? Why should you?
Exactly. So, all of which going back, like this is the thing, like it's not what we're talking about here, ladies and gentlemen. It's not about you're showing up to do the job. There is a work as worship concept that is very, very valuable. The idea is the effort you put into something is the effort you should put in everything. And there's actually a lot of truth to that, and you should. So while you're at whatever job you're at, doing whatever it is you do not cheat your effort. Because it's not about even the job, it's about how you treat you. Treat your effort like it's gold. But it's what you invest in terms like I can put effort into a job, and then once the job is done, I can walk away from it. Right. And the reason I was taught that is because, again, something you just said, there is no loyalty anymore. And because there is no loyalty, that means the big and great truth is every single job has sought to make every one of us replaceable. But in so doing, they have actually also made themselves replaceable, ironically enough. So what that means is jobs are kind of like toilet paper. You can take one, wipe your ass, and replace it with another roll when the roll's done. Because, and this is going to sound really terrible to any prospective employers, but it's all in how you treat your workers. If you pay and you treat them well, and you have a culture where you value the people there, then you're a great company, and you're as irreplaceable as the workers you have. But if you're a company looking for the lowest common denominator, that's what you are. You're junk food.
Pretty much. And I've sworn off of junk food.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's funny though is that if I ever like my my character John Baker, I wouldn't need to exercise as much as I would, because I would just burn everything off like it was nothing.
Yeah, but I mean,
or eat food raw.
Yeah. But at the same token, though, right? I mean, the effort in itself is a bit of, and your own efforts are a bit of a reward into themselves, right?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Every time I do something physical, I remember I couldn't have done this 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. I couldn't have done this time last year. So I'm grateful for it. I mean, at this point now, I found the fountain of youth, man. Yeah. I feel better than I did when I was 20. I told my mother, joking around, I said, if 20-year-old me came up against me currently, like, I'd whoop his behind.
Well, sure you would. Yeah. I would kick my 20-year-old version of myself's ass. I don't know if I'd kick 30-year-old me's ass, but I could definitely kick 20.
Yeah. 30-year-old me wouldn't even have it wouldn't even be a contest. Yeah. It'd be over before it even started. 30-something-year-old me would throw a punch and then be winded.
Yeah. No. See me, it's like I was working at Pure Later. Decent company, right? Decent company, but I was pretty physically fit especially at certain points. I don't know if I could have taken me at 30.
Actually, 30-year-old me was going for his black belt. I got my black belt when I was 32. No, yeah, 32. So I would have had some issues with me then.
Yeah. Now that's all right? That's the thing. Like for me, like I'm just looking at this. I'm looking at where I'm going and what I want to do. It's just like I recognize the fact like I don't want to be what 30-year-old me did. It was great in my 30s. But my 40s, my 50s, and my 60s, looking forward, I was like, I don't want to be anywhere near that because I know like my body will break down. Sooner or later, my body will break down. Sooner or later. And when again, everything breaks down sooner or later, but it's one thing when it's like, it's age and you just did it, and the other thing is just when you just use your body to the ground. I mean, your
Well, see,
body.
the way I'm looking at it now is I'm training to be 65. I'm
Hmm.
training to be 75. When I'm 65, I want people to think I'm 40. When I'm
Yeah.
75, I want people to think I'm 50. You know what I mean? And the great thing about what I'm doing is that I'm not putting a lot of stress on my joints. I'm stretching and strengthening not just muscles, but ligaments and tendons and my back. And when your back is strong, your body
Oh,
follows.
absolutely, absolutely.
So,
Back and heart. Forget like,
absolutely.
the
And
back.
I've now been taken off my hypertension meds and I do not have to use my CPAP anymore. So my body is a machine again.
Yes, and it's getting better, and you're getting sharper. And I mean, I'm sure there's days Wrath of Brian does still come out every once in a while, but
There's days when Grouchy Brian comes out and it's like, ooh, and you know what though? On those days, I just hit the mat or I get on my heavy bag and I just let it all out and I'm back at peace. But
yeah,
see, I can't wait to start writing again
yeah.
with my new health. I cannot wait to be able to start writing again.
That's an interesting. So when like is there like a delay or is it just like been?
School, work, school and work are kind of in the way. Once I'm done with school, I'm going to get back. I'm right now. My books are still in the re-release phase with Random Evolve Media, so they're re-releasing my 5 books currently. Unbreakable Mind, the sequel to Invincible Heart, which is a spin-off to Kendra Sauter's Permutation Archive series, has just re-released. It re-released July 29th.
Mhm.
So that's been re-released, and then my next re-release is coming TBD fourth quarter of this year. The Hunted, which is the sequel to my urban fantasy series. Um, the first book in that being The Enforcer. That'll be coming out, like I said, fourth quarter of this year, so it'll probably be within the next few months. And then first to second quarter 2022, my erotic criminal thriller story, Ed and Livy, will be coming out. So I still have time to get back to writing.
Ah,
Like
I,
right now, I still don't have to have anything brand new until this time next year.
yeah. I said that's the only thing that really that's the actually the reason I went back to work was because I wanted to pay my illustrator and my editor, and I'm not sure how I'm going to do that right this minute, right, right. Um,
Right.
right, and that's why I did what I did, and it was just like, but now looking forward, like again, everybody's on a different part of the journey, and like I said, the month is young, and so
Absolutely.
I'll figure something out.
You'll
I'm
figure it
sure.
out. You'll get it figured out for
Yeah,
sure. For sure.
yeah, yeah. But that also like with you, it sounds like you got your shit together, my friend, or at least
Yeah.
mostly together.
It's getting there. You know what? I got my shit together and now I'm taking it to the next level. Now I'm going to the next level. Brian from last year, I have it all together now. Brian from last year is that's put aside, that's taken care of. That's in the that's in the memory banks for wisdom.
Hmm.
Now it's time to go to the next step. So 2022 Brian can look back at 2021 Brian and go, okay, now I can put him away for wisdom later because now I'm constantly I look at it as I'm constantly evolving, man. I'm
Sure.
constantly evolving.
Well, you have to you legitimately have to life is change. That is
Right.
the whole of it. Life is
That
change.
is all life is change.
Yeah,
It's constantly in flux.
yeah. Hell, if you want to know what truly hell is to me, it honestly in this world would be perfection, right? Because
Oh my goodness.
it'd be the death of change, and without change,
Right.
right, there's no growth, and everything is as it always would be. It like I don't know what like hell actually will be if there is such a thing. I do think there is, but if there is, right, um, that to me is hell. I mean that would be forever unchanging. It's just like I couldn't be that like that. Like I'm not built to be that. I have to keep growing and keep going somewhere. You know.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You've got to be able. You've got to continue to change. You've got to continue to sort of make make the most out of time you have. I think that's why when I hear a lot of folks say, "Oh man, I'd love to be immortal," and blah blah blah, I'm like, why? That's
Hmm.
stupid.
So no, I actually I had this debate with somebody that was on my show. It goes, Would you like to live forever?" It's like, no, I'm supposed to die. I'm actually supposed to die. And it's actually, and my own experiences in life have taught me like when that time actually comes, that's going to be a good thing. When that time actually comes, I'm not wishing for my death. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like there's a time and a place for when it happens, and when it does, that's great. Life will move on to whatever actually is next.
Oh, I ain't
Right?
trying to die. I ain't trying to die until
No,
like
God, no.
2096. 2096 is when I'll be acceptable to die.
Ah,
Between 2079 and 2096. I want to make it to the century mark,
okay.
and then I'm good. Then after that, no matter whatever happens, happens.
Well, see me. I have a very. Again, my own personal experiences have taught me that it can come at any time. That's not what matters. What matters is,
What you do at the
um,
time you're here.
yeah,
What you
exactly.
learn, what you learn, and what you do at the time that you're here, and
Yeah,
how many people you've helped, and how much positive you've brought to people's lives. And I think that's what really makes me feel good now. I was starting to get that feeling with my writing, and I still get a great feeling with that with my writing. I love to know that I've entertained people, but now I can also entertain people and help them get healthy.
yep,
When I'm doing a DDP yoga class, I'm keeping people laughing. I'm singing to them, certain dialogues, or I'm doing something to make them laugh. So they're not focusing on, oh my God, this is so difficult. This is so hard. No, I'm showing them that I care about them and I'm entertaining them so that they're putting in the work that they didn't think that they could do and they're getting it done. And I'm encouraging them. So it's like, oh, wow. So you can't get all the way down to the ground for this. You can't do it yet. You're going to do it. It's just not happening today. But you've got tomorrow, next week, next month. You can do this. And when you believe in someone, you're giving them a very, very powerful gift.
oh yeah, no, absolutely, no. It's a very no. So I started drawing last year. I don't know if you've seen any of my pictures or not as I've evolved on my page. If you haven't, that's cool. But I met someone from China of all places on Instagram, and she goes to me, "I really like your drawings." That's like a cool feeling because it's like you didn't expect it. Like you're just
Right.
doing your thing, and then one day someone goes, "You're pretty good at this."
And that feels
That's
great.
huge.
It really is. That's just like if someone says, "Hey, I read your book. I really like it." Thanks. I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see this silly thing mean something to you.
The only well, I accept. I'm gonna push back on you. It's like it's not a completely silly thing.
Well,
You
no,
cared.
I don't say that to be facetious. Like I think it's crap. It's more when I say silly, I mean it's something that I. It's like I'm putting my imagination into words. So I'm
Mhm.
not so much meaning it's so silly. It's so no. It's like it's kind of when like a comic book person, a comic book writer, someone will refer to their book as a funny book or something.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it is kind of a funny book, but it's cool. You know what I mean? Because there's so many other things that people can use to entertain themselves.
Oh sure.
I'm not Tolkien, I'm not Melville, I'm not Kuntz, I'm not Saul, I'm not King, I'm not any of these people. You could be reading anybody, but you read my book.
Hmm.
And I appreciate that. So, when I say silly, I don't mean it. I don't want anyone to think that I'm meaning that to be, facetious or I'm being, shall we say, taking a passive aggressive dig or self deprecation. No, 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 no. I look at it as I think the reason why I can say that it's silly is because I'm also not taking myself too seriously anymore.
So,
I
I get
take what I do.
I get your concept. I get your concept. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do a small pushback, not like a big one, because I think your overall idea is solid. Here's what I'm going to say. Okay, one, this might be a really 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 cool thought for you. I hope.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I feel like this is the thing. Like what do you have in common with Stephen King?
We
Now, right? Now you're laughing, but think about this for just a second here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you put as much blood, sweat, and tears as he does in his books. You believed in your stuff. Otherwise, you wouldn't have written it to finish it, right? You finished a book. That's the simple reality of what you do. So that's awesome. That's amazing. That's wonderful, and yeah, that's great, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so you did that, and you put a huge investment of time, effort, energy, and emotion. Let's be honest. You want to make people feel something when you do something, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So all of that said, what you've done then, my friend, is you've created a situation where um, people can invest in your work because you invested in your work. So,
Mm-hmm.
one sense, you're no different than Stephen King, Dean Koontz, all those authors you've mentioned, is you just did the exact same thing they did. And in that moment, yeah, it's awesome when someone chooses to invest in your work and say that your work is great and wonderful and amazing, all those things. That is super awesome and important. But what's also equally important is the fact that, you know what? Yeah, it means something because it means the same thing. Because yeah, maybe it's only one book. You have a fan base of one or two or a dozen or 100, but you've got that fan base that believes in you.
Absolutely.
And it's still yours, right? On the same token, I get your self-deprecation part because I say this many times. I have a big mouth, and they gave me an award for it because it's true, right? Right. Little again, not taking yourself too seriously. Yeah, it's healthy. It's good to balance the way to balance your ego out. Mine's huge, right? So I mean, it's just one of those things. Like you can see it.
And I've never really had an ego per se.
Yeah.
I've always just been in that regard really laid back. Like I take my process, I take my work seriously in the point that I'm not going to put junk out there. I'm going to try to make sure everything fits, but I'm not going to take like I used to get real bummed out when people would say they were going to get my book and they didn't, or my books aren't getting awards. I think Invincible Heart won an award when it first came out. It won a sci-fi award. And then it was like, but it never got nominated for anything. It was like, wow, no one's reading my stuff. And I would get so bummed. And then it's just like, you know what? Who cares? And I asked myself, did you start writing to win awards, or did you start writing because you had stories you wanted to tell? Well, I had stories I wanted to tell. And has anyone read those stories? Yes. Have they enjoyed them? They say that. So then what's it matter? Quit taking yourself so seriously.
Yeah, no, cool. No, and that's
so that's what I mean. So that's what I mean when I say I'm not taking it too serious.
And like I said, your base, I agree with. Like it's I got where you're
the base end. It's the word. It's the wording. So instead of saying my silliness, how about hey, thanks for walking into my storm.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That's a fun way of doing it. Or just hey, or what I do is thank you for your time. It's very. I mean, because that's.
You could have spent your time and your money on so many other things, but you chose to walk into my storm.
Yeah, so thank you. Yeah. Thank you for your
time. That's what I try to put out. I'm willing to sort of change up verbiage. There's nothing wrong with
like I said, like little self-deprecation goes a long way. I know. Trust me, I'm well aware of about that. The ego is only good for really one thing, and it's a great thing. Like talking about that respect thing we talked about earlier. Your ego's great there. Your ego is wonderful.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? But in a lot of other cases, it gets you in trouble.
Yeah. It's good to be confident, but don't be egotistical. Mm-hmm. Be confident in yourself, know your self-worth, but don't overinflate yourself.
That's right.
Because when you overinflate a balloon, what happens? It pops.
Yep.
So don't overinflate yourself.
Mm-hmm. And it's such a tricky balance. It really is.
It really is.
Yeah.
Especially when you don't like. Because me, I'm terrified of becoming an egotistical person. I'm terrified of it. because that's not who I am as a person. So, yeah, even to this day, I might have some self deprecating things to try to keep myself humble.
Oh,
And then, but people were like, oh, why are you so down on yourself? I'm really not. I'm
so
not.
I got a great piece of advice from Jonas Saul. We were talking. He goes, "Here's the thing." He goes, "Every one of us has an ego.
Mm-hmm.
Never show it in public." He
There you
goes,
go.
"I still," and he said, like, honestly, he's like, "I got a big ego. And that guy has a right to have a huge ego, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, right. Um,
absolutely.
right. He has a right to it." But he goes, "I never do it in public. I always do it in other
Keep it at home.
places, but
Yep.
never in public because it
Keep it at
doesn't."
home.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, exactly. Because honestly, it's a great piece of advice. It is such a great piece of advice because it's like, um, you can have an ego and you need it a little bit, and you got
Mhm.
it's like anything else. Like you can be angry, and anger serves in the right circumstances. You can be lustful. That can serve in the right circumstances. Every feeling we have is there, and it all can be used constructively. It's recognizing what those feelings are, where they come
Mhm.
from, and how to use them. And like for most of us, we got to learn how to do that. And that's when, shit can happen. And
Absolutely.
right. But they're all there. Like those things that a lot of people are taught to shun. It's like, no, those things are there for a reason. Don't
Right.
shun them, except that
No.
they're there. You
Don't
know?
shun. Don't shun anger. Don't shun. Um, I don't want to. For lack of a better term, lust. Don't
Yeah.
shun desire. Don't shun joy. Don't shun any of that. Only thing you need to do is know when to use it in the right circumstance.
Hmm.
There's always a time and place for something. And me, I pride myself on being a creature of balance. There's a time and a place for everything. There's jokes that you won't tell in front of your significant other that you'll tell around your friends. There's things that you'll say around your parents that you don't say around your friends. You need to learn how to read a room at the
Yeah.
end of the day. That's what a lot
Again,
of
yeah. Ultimately, when it comes down to, absolutely, absolutely. So you're still podcasting. You're still having a good time there. All
oh, I
right.
love it. I love what I do. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna ask this before. Let's screw around. So AEW wrestling's good. What the hell happened to WWE?
WWE does not know how to get out of its own way. And it's so arrogant in how it treats people. They just released Bray Wyatt,
I saw that.
who is probably one of the most he was one of the most over guys in the business. And the man has such a brilliant mind for the business. He's a third generation superstar. He's the son of Barry Windham. No,
Yeah,
he's the son of Mike Rotunda. His name is Wyndham Rotunda.
yeah.
His uncle is Barry Windham. His father is Mike Rotunda. So this man has the business in his veins, and he came out with two of the most amazing characters to come out in the last 20 years. The Bray Wyatt, Eater of Worlds character, and The Fiend. Now, and then they just released them, which is foolish. They kept Keith Lee off of TV for the better part of the year, and this guy was way over. Now, the best things they have going on right now in the company, in my opinion, as a casual observer, Bobby Lashley with MVP and heel Roman Reigns. Problem is, Roman Reigns should have been made a heel 5 to 6 years ago. I think Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman is gold, absolute gold.
Mhm.
Bobby Lashley with MVP is gold. But why they broke up the Hurt business
Did never
without
know.
nothing is stupid. Because when you look at some of the great factions, some of the great champions. You look at Ric Flair back in the NWA when it was Jim Crockett Promotions before it was bought by Turner. And even when it was bought by Turner, Ric Flair had the Four Horsemen, which was integral to him. Now, even if you are trying to build Bobby Lashley to be this unstoppable monster, having him with a team behind him is still the right move. You had Roman Reigns with the
The use
Usos. So why wouldn't you do that with Bobby Lashley? And now that they're putting him up with Goldberg, it's the WWE cannot get out of its own way, and it won't get out of its own way because Vince McMahon is stuck in the past. Triple H has an amazing mind for the business. I think his wife has a great mind for the business, but they need to get over themselves. AEW, I'm a casual wrestling observer. I'm actually going to be getting more into wrestling over, starting this month, actually. I'm going to start getting more into these things. But I mean, God, I love what they're doing with the business. I think Chris Jericho, I even put it on my Twitter feed, on my Tandemonium, my at Tandemonium VSM Twitter handle. Chris Jericho and Father Time aren't even acquainted. Did you see what he did last night where he did a top rope Judas effect on Juventus Cabrera? That was amazing.
So I think like this is just me. This is just how I kind of see Jericho at this point. I think he needs to move to like a special attraction role a little bit more in AEW. They don't need him as quite as much week to week, but he's great. Like there's no he's great, and without him, AEW would not have gotten as big as they did. Yeah, but if you look at that whole roster, my favorite character on AEW is Miro. I love Miro.
Miro is amazing. I hear a lot about what he's had going on, and good for him, man. Good for him, because when he was Rusev, I thought the whole Rusev Day thing was amazing. It was fun. I loved him as this monster heel, and then they just started like picking with him and playing with him, put him in a freaking cuckold angle, which was horrible. I love what he's doing in AEW now.
So I love him because he's charming and scary at the same time, right? He's a funny guy. You could did you ever watch Southpaw Wrestling when they did the he was in there and he was funny every time he was on the screen. He just was.
You just have
He played a they made fun of the old 80s wrestling gimmicks and stuff. So he was playing Farmer Bartholomew, right? and my favorite part was to all the southern countries, talking about like the United States and all the southern countries, but he said it with such conviction, you just couldn't help but laugh, right? And then there's another scene like him and Jericho's in this as a character too, and so they had him sign the contract. He signed it at the wrong place at the wrong time, wrong spot. But he did it. He was funny. Like you're almost like tearing. Like they're all funny on there. Like you see how talented that WWE roster was when you look at that show, because you just see even John Cena as Lance Catamaran is like, holy shit, right? It was like you have these really funny, charismatic, fun people, and WWE wants to play certain rules. I think when you look at AEW, the only thing I say because the downside is they need to give their women more television time. That's their weakness. But that all said, like you look at everybody's doing something. Everybody's got something going on with the show, and while I do think Omega and the Young Bucks need to drop the titles, it's sooner than later. Really, they have a great show, top to bottom, and and it's fun to watch. And even Sting, how they use Sting of all people, 62-year-old Sting. Watch his confrontation with Orange Cassidy if you haven't seen it already.
I will check that out. I will start checking.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. Like Orange Cassidy, once you get him, is awesome. And when you see him and Sting interact, you're like, my God. And you got the whole place popping with just what they did, which is as funny as hell.
See, what I appreciate about AEW, and WWE is starting to do that as well, I hated the fact that belts would change hands so quickly. I like an established champion because when they lose the belt, it means more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when you have someone holding a belt for an extended amount of time, you make that belt mean something. When they're feuding with people for this belt, it means something. So you can use it to elevate the next person. You know what I mean? But no, I'm really like I said, I'm gonna start getting more into the products again. Trying to find time to do it is the hard part.
But here's my thing. You're going to think, when you look at AEW, you're going to be reminded of WCW in 1997.
Well, that's not always great, though.
No. WCW 97 was good. Was really, really good.
It had its moments. I would
Sting,
say I would argue WCW.
the
Honestly,
Bill,
I would say WCW before Turner bought them was really good. Now, granted, the NWO was amazing and they did amazing things and they changed the business. Absolutely. But when you look at the NWO and what they destroyed the NWO within its first 6 to 7 months. When they started having loads and loads of people,
so
they killed it.
so
It
here,
was
here
just a
no,
slow death.
no, so this is my thing. This was 1997 at WCW. The build up, not the finale. The build up to Sting and Hogan was
The
amazing.
buildup was great. The
Yeah,
buildup was
that is,
great.
and honestly, Sting got over without saying a word. Like he got
Yes,
over
he
without
did.
saying a single word.
Yes, he did. Yes,
That
he
you
did.
also had the feud of the year, your boy Diamond Dallas Page versus Macho Man Randy. Macho Man in 1997 was amazing. Like
Absolutely.
he was.
You want to talk about a guy that bottled up the fountain of youth and took sips on a daily. That was the Macho Man.
No, no, no. So
Absolutely.
I love Macho Madness NWO. He pile drive referees. He would just do whatever the hell he felt like it. And
Oh, absolutely.
And DDP was perfect for him. Yeah, like right. And when DDP beat him the first time, it was like, holy crap.
Whoa,
That was
a big deal.
Yeah. So you had that. You also had you had the honestly until they gave the road to Hogan, the build up and breakup of the Four Horsemen was really well done. So I'm just throwing a bunch of different things out there. The Giant and Lex Luger as a tag team. Lex Luger's year, that whole year in '97 was actually really good. He beat Hogan for the title, right? So I mean, I like it. It's got that vibe where it feels like anything can happen. It feels like there's really cool characters top to bottom on the card. So I didn't even talk about the cruiserweights, and I could because the cruiserweight division was amazing. Dean Malenko, Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero.
I
Wow.
love Dean Malenko. And Eddie Guerrero, you want to talk about a guy who
So
generational talent, man.
So in 1997, Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero, Halloween Havoc is still one of the best matches I've ever seen.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. When your curtain jerker is when your that whole show went downhill because that was too good of a match to start with, in my opinion.
Well, actually, top to bottom, I feel like that pay per view, the main event didn't deliver. That was the only problem with that pay per view. That pay per view, top to bottom, was almost the best. Like that is the best card besides the main event. Right, is the best card top to bottom. And that was the thing about WCW is that's what killed them ultimately is they didn't know how to do a finish. That's not the problem AEW has. AEW actually does compelling, like Malachi Black, aka Aleister Black, debuts 30 days after they screwed up. He debuts 30 days after the his release on WWE. Right, WWE screwed that release up big time. He shows up, debuts. He just squashed Cody in 5 minutes, which is like. That's pretty good. Like you can't argue that.
Dude, that spin kick is so well done.
Yeah.
It is so from a martial artist's perspective, that is such a well done maneuver.
It's a legit
movement. It's a legit move. It's legit. And what I really love is that I love my finishing moves that you can use on anybody. Yeah. Diamond Cutter, Stone Cold Stunner, the DDT. It doesn't matter how much bigger if you've got a move that you can put on anybody to win like that's the move. Because like even the rock bottom, it's a good move, but you're not going to be able to hit it as well as you would on someone that's
why ultimately the people's owl became his finisher. Ultimately,
right. But I mean, when you have moves and the DDT is probably to this day probably among my favorite finishing moves.
It's the best storytelling device of all time.
It really is.
Like Jake Roberts understood. Like he understood the concept of a knockout punch. Like essentially, that's what he like. Basically, that was the whole thing about Jake was a knockout artist.
Yeah, he knew the psychology of the ring.
Yeah,
he knew how to keep you. And I love that interview they did with him where they ask him, what is the DDT? What does the DDT stand for? He just looks the end, and I'm like, Ooh.
Yeah,
It's
no,
almost like in The Lion King where he goes, "Oh, I just get chills every time down my body. Every time I hear his name, Mufasa. Ooh, say it again."
yeah,
And that's the feeling I get whenever I see that promo.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, like Jake was like again, like you look like ring psychology. Jake was probably like the very best at it. He was didn't matter who he was against, didn't matter how outmatched he was. He had that DDT, and if he hit it, it didn't matter
That's
who
it.
you were. It was
It's
over,
over.
right? Same
Yeah.
thing. Like
And that's what put the Undertaker over. The Undertaker was the only dude to ever kick out of the DDT.
he
And
sat
he
out.
DDT'd him on the concrete.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he was the first and only one to get up from the DDT.
Yep.
And that's what put the Undertaker over.
Yeah. As a babyface, yes. So I mean,
face, absolutely.
heel Undertaker that first year was awesome.
He scared the crap out of me. You figure he came out about 1988?
1990. It was 90. It was 90.
He was 90. So I was only 11.
Yeah.
He scared the hell out of me.
You look like a dead dude. Like
yes,
you look like a legit dead dude.
Coming out to the funeral march, I was like, I didn't
like
I know.
Him. Yeah, he wasn't cool. Like I was a big Demolition fan. You heard that music, you knew someone was going to get beaten up. That's what you knew, right?
Right, dude. That music is still banging too. That's among the top 10 entrance themes of all time for me.
Oh yeah, no, because it's perfect. It fit them perfectly. These guys come out in these scary masks and like they look like I don't want to look at how they dress. I don't want to fight these guys.
At first, it's like they're Road Warrior clones, but no, they were their own thing, and it was great.
Yeah,
I think that Jake the Snake's theme song, Stone Cold Steve Austin's theme, the Horseman theme, the NWO theme are some of the greatest entrance themes of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll throw Hulk Hogan's and DX's in there as well.
Hogan, no, you okay? So I'm gonna add two more. Macho Man's Pomp and Circumstance.
Absolutely, that was gonna be my next one.
Yeah, I actually think Undertaker when he evolved it to like the full orchestra entrance. But I
like the metal version of it. That's on.
I know, I do. But again, that fit a very
the orchestra to the funeral march that's on point. That's the music that he started using in 95.
Mm-hmm.
It was 95. It was either 94 or 95 because
94 when he fought the Undertaker.
Because it was after it was in 94 because it was when he came back for SummerSlam. Mm-hmm. After because he was out from Royal Rumble to SummerSlam nursing injuries because he had that match with. Matter of fact, I'm going down this rabbit hole for the WWE from 1993 on, so I'm watching all of the Monday Night Raws.
Oh God!
And the pay-per-views. So now I'm on Royal Rumble 94. So we're getting ready to have the Undertaker versus Yokozuna double deep, double wide casket match.
So. First off, you're a brave soul because after this pay-per-view, it gets bad. I'm lying. You have WrestleMania 10.
WrestleMania 10 was banger.
Yeah, it was pretty damn cool. But you're gonna have
after SummerSlam 94, it gets crappy up until King of the Ring 96.
Yep, dude. I'm gonna give you a big hug right now. So because I know that is a terrible era.
When you're right between the Attitude Era, when you're leading into the Attitude Era, that's a tough time. But I'll tell you the truth, watching Kamala on screen was so painful to watch because of the racial overtones of the character. It was very, very tough to watch.
WWE has a really, really, really terrible history with that. Unfortunately, it just really does. They even still do things with R-Truth every now and then that I cringe at.
Mm-hmm.
I go, yeah.
Well, see, that's what kind of made me mad with the whole Lana Rusev Lashley thing. I didn't like the way that was looking at all. Because it really felt like they were trying to perpetrate stereotypes on that, and it's like, we're over that.
I have a theory. This is my theory. This is my true theory about this. I think Vince McMahon was not a fan of Rusev. Like he didn't like the look of Rusev and Lana together, and I don't know why exactly, but they worked. they worked quite well.
Well, that
Um,
and the fact that they're married in real life, so
yeah, that's the thing. Like you're not going to change that, and
right.
right, and you got a guy that is an amazing athlete that's very unhappy with his like how things are going, and he's like, I'm just going to go with the flow, I guess, for as long as I can go with the flow. And when they let him go, I mean, he was still like he showed up. I remember, I think my favorite him. He showed up in like a Donald Duck T-shirt one episode of Raw, and I was like, he doesn't give a shit, and you could tell he
They
just
just
doesn't.
don't care. Well,
Yeah.
it's just like Dolph Ziggler was getting to that point too when he started wearing the "What Happened When" podcast T-shirts on
Hmm.
the with Tony Schiavone and Conrad Thompson. Who that's a show that I'm a big fan of those guys. Um, but yeah, Dolph Ziggler. You want to talk about a guy who was so underutilized for so long in Dolph Ziggler. Oh my goodness.
Too
Honestly,
late. Sadly, it's
it's
way
too.
too late because he
It
should have been
is.
higher. He should have been higher. But he's been in that position for so long. I don't know how you fix that.
He's gonna like honestly, I think that there might even need to be like a third federation somewhere for him to get in on. Like maybe he goes to Ring of Honor, maybe he goes to ML. Maybe he goes to
I
one of
I secretly think he's waiting for the fact, like regardless. I don't think you guys lock down again. To be perfectly honest with you, no
right.
matter no, I don't think you do. You're gonna go through a weird. I still think a weird year, but you guys aren't gonna lock down again. I can just I don't see it. But what I do see happening is when comedy clubs are able to open regularly again, I don't think he's going to be there so much anymore. I think one of the reasons I mean, it was cool for him. It was something for him to do. 2020, he could wrestle because he couldn't do a comedy show.
Right.
Well, it's 2021. You guys might. I don't know what's going to happen to you guys in the next few weeks, but I get the feeling you're not like Florida ain't shutting down, Texas ain't shutting down. I think a lot of other states aren't going to shut down. They call for another lockdown. I think only about half the states will lock down at most, right? And I don't even think half the states are going to lock down. I think it's going to be more like we're just going to put restrictions up, and that's it. That's all we're doing.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm to the point now where I wish I were John Baker and it wouldn't matter to me.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you the truth. I really think that this whole pandemic has showed the ugliest side of human nature. It's
Mm-hmm.
shown how selfish human beings are as a species. It's shown just how lack of regard individuals have for their fellow human. And it's so me first, gimme, gimme, gimme. But then folks will turn around and accuse somebody of being a snowflake or soft or whatever. Where meanwhile they throw temper tantrums for stuff. So it's okay for you to throw a temper tantrum and act a fool. But if someone else is calling you out, they're wrong.
I have
A lot of
my
hypocrisy in human
this is
nature.
I've gone back and forth on this one because here's the thing. Here's the thing. I think both sides have some legitimate concerns, but I think that we're focusing on different things, right? You're concerned about the physical health and well-being of people, which is wonderful and great. And I'm again not knocking that, but here's the thing, especially where you're at. You guys don't have the infrastructure built in an emergency like this, and you guys just don't. And that's not one side, that's all through. You don't have the infrastructure that if things are shut down too long. Here's the thing. COVID kills, yes. So does no food. And
Well,
right. And
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
right. So here so I'm of so here's where I'm kind of at this. This is where I'm at. I think from a pandemic standpoint, we should be looking at more like an endemic thing, not a pandemic thing anymore. And in a perfect world, in an absolute perfect world, look at the people that really do have special needs and sicknesses and focus on doing what they can to help them out as much as we can because the resources are there everywhere. I don't I think from a psychological standpoint, hammering and nailing lockdowns worldwide is we've hit the point where I'm not sure that's the healthy course anymore. And I'm not sure. And now we're also dealing with like big human rights issues because I think you can make a pretty good argument that a vaccine might be a good idea this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure you can make that argument next year or the year after or the year after. There's a legitimate question. Well, a couple things, right? Vaccine is still experimental. The way it came out early, it's a new technology. It's not something, and for all of what they say about scientifically, there is a history, I mean, worldwide of these companies releasing stuff early having long-term repercussions on people. So that's one. So I don't know if forcing people to take this is the right call. On the other hand, let me finish this point. Even if you could make the argument, I do think there is an argument you can make about it for this year. I think there is a legitimate one you can make. But where I'm concerned is when we get like Pfizer's making $15 billion this year from this vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to want to give if certain things are allowed into the system. How do you get out? My body, my choice is becoming a legitimate issue, and I think honestly that is I feel again short term. There's definitely a point for it. The long term, the long term repercussions though also kind of have to be thought about because here's the thing. I don't know if I want to live in a world where I have to take a booster shot every year or I can't work. And say what you will, if it goes to a certain point, it will get to that point. And especially in your country, if people have to pay for that shot, that's going to open all kinds of problems up that I'm not sure are good ones. Do you see where I'm coming from on that?
I mean, I hear what you're saying, but here's a couple of things. First and
Yeah.
foremost, and I had this discussion with a someone that I've known in the medical profession.
Hmm.
One of the things that takes a long time for vaccines and things of that nature to get out is funding, money.
Hmm.
These companies had pretty much an open checkbook
Hmm.
to make these things.
Hmm.
Plus, where COVID in and of itself, from what, and I actually mentioned this to this medical professional, and they did not correct me. They agree that essentially the COVID virus, while it's sort of in the same family as the flu, it's not the flu. But
Hmm.
you at least have the benchmark of the flu to work with. So saying that it's highly experimental, yes and no. When you've got a benchmark that you can work on it with,
Hmm.
and you've got that infinite checkbook because people are dying at an alarming rate, it's
Absolutely.
there. And then two, you're absolutely right that the infrastructure here in the States was not created for this. That's on Washington because Washington hasn't done anything significant for infrastructure in like 30, 40, 50
Oh,
years in that
absolutely. Yeah,
range.
absolutely.
So, and as far as my body, my choice, I hate that terminology because that's a terminology that came about for women arguing the fact that men need to stay the hell out of their business when it
Oh,
comes to their bodies.
I get
So
it.
I don't like the fact that people are using that term is starting to become politicized for someone to say, well, I don't want to take a vaccine. But I understand the point. It is starting to get there. But the thing is, as far as how much money Pfizer or Moderna are supposed to be making from these boosters and blah, 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 I mean, we get flu shots every year, and there needs to be there needs to be regulation and control on these companies so that they're not price gouging. At the end of the day, it all falls on the shoulders of leadership
Hmm.
to make sure these things don't get out of control. It's will they? And part of the reason why a lot of them don't is because they allow these companies, and you've seen that with Big Pharma for how long, keeping marijuana illegal, keeping
Hmm.
drug prices sky high, where it's so expensive to get drugs here, where if you go to Canada or any other European country, it's like nothing. But they have lobbyists.
Hmm.
They pay to keep their agendas. That's the problem. So there needs to be real leadership. And we're not going to get real leadership in this country until those that are in power start losing their own loved ones, start dying off themselves, or the public pressure is so strong that they have no choice. And I think that's the one positive about COVID is that they don't have a choice but to do the right thing anymore. Even though they're not, but they're slowly starting to.
So, okay, so this is all of which say I do agree with you that my body, my choice shouldn't be politicized, right? But what we're talking about, like the real big issue on this, is does the state have the right to dictate what goes into your body?
If it's a matter of public health, when it comes down to the health of the public, this is something that a lot of people, especially here in the States, do not understand. They seem to think, well, I've got rights. Sure you do. But your rights are not able to trample on other people's rights. They don't.
Then let me ask you this, because this is the thing that especially your country is very vulnerable to. This all works, assuming the vaccine stays free.
Yeah.
The moment it
starts to get a price tag, now it becomes a problem. And that's why I said that's where it comes to Washington to actually show balls and have leadership and not allow this to happen.
Because here's again, and like I said, I'm going to agree to disagree with you on the open checkbook thing. There's just too many instances in history where things have come out early that have kind of been like, that goes wrong.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, I seriously hope that we don't have. That's not the zombie apocalypse virus.
No. But that's the thing. Like I'm waiting. Like personally, I'm going to wait till 2023, and the reason why it's 2023 is simply because under normal circumstances, vaccine trials are 3 years.
Oh, right. I hear you. And I'm not disputing it. You know, and that's your choice.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you the truth. It's just like, my mother-in-law is refusing to get vaccinated at all. And it's like, all right, that's your choice. But here's the thing. You also have to be prepared for the consequences.
Oh, sure.
Which means she's not allowed to be among my niece because my niece is too young to get vaccinated. So it's like, so you have to be and I'm saying this not to you, I'm saying more to her. So when people like that's well within the rights, but then you've got to be people that are under that same notion. I'm not saying you, but there are a lot of people that are in that same boat that are either refusing to get vaccinated at all or they're going to wait. It's like, all right, that's cool. Then be prepared for the fact that there are some things you're not going to be able to do. You won't be able to play the reindeer games because it's a danger. And even though I get the reasoning and that's well within your rights, I have no issue with people wanting to wait to get the vaccine. I have none. The part that I have problems with is, well, I'm not getting it and I want to do everything that I want to do. No. You don't get to do that. Because how is that fair for the people? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like, what about the people that are getting it to protect loved ones that can't get it?
So let me.
So I mean, it'll mean wearing a mask.
So I'm going to throw one possible thought, and then I think we can walk away. I think. Like I said, in principle, I think like. I get where you're coming from. Like I totally get where you're coming from. My personal take on these things is there has to be this is my worry about your country in particular, although it's my worry up here too. It's my worry up here too. These things that are temporary measures sometimes have a habit of becoming permanent. Probably the best example of that historically is income tax. It was supposed to just be for World War I.
Yeah, right? And now it's a forever thing.
Yeah, that's right. So here's the this is just my take. I think the next 2 years, I think your argument's super sound. But I think my big concern about this going long term is we have a history of keeping things, especially and government bodies, especially like keeping things to certain status quo.
Right.
There's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of incentives for once things are established a certain way to stay a certain way.
Right.
And there's gonna come a point with this too, where again, this year sure, next year maybe, right,
Yeah.
right, but forever is a terrible thing. So if you're going to implement something like this, you have to also have a way to get out of this when it's no longer necessary.
I
Right?
agree.
You're
I
right.
agree.
Yeah.
That's
Because,
where leadership has to
yeah,
come in.
but and I think this is what I will say. Just a thought. I'm not saying with everybody, but a thought. I think a lot of people, like again, this is where I'm concerned. Like I'm not concerned. Like right this minute, I get it. Cool, I get it. But a lot of people aren't. And I think if you could talk to people of, hey, it's one shot, one time. That's the other thing too. This isn't like a vaccine in the sense of like a polio shot or a measles shot. It's not a one time for life, done over, whatever. Right? This could be for years.
A forever
Yeah. So it's not this shot that a lot of people are concerned about. It's the next shot and the next shot and the next shot and the next shot, right? I think this is the thing. Again, I'm not going to excuse everybody because Lord knows I've heard horror stories from a lot of people down there, but I do feel there has to be a discussion on the fact that, okay, we're going to go into it. You want us? This is where I think the compromise would have to be is. Okay, you want us to go all in on this? Okay, let's go in on this. Who's liable if something does go wrong, first and foremost?
Right.
Second, 2 years from now, we reevaluate this. Right?
I'm on board. I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah, no. But like, this is what I feel like a discussion. There's no discussion of this that I'm seeing anywhere.
Oh, and I think because nobody can have these discussions. You know why?
Yeah.
Because it's so politicized.
Yeah.
And as soon as you disagree with someone, soon, and it's not just in Washington, it's on social media too. As soon as you disagree, oh, you're disagreeing with me? You're personally attacking me. And now I have to fight you with all the rage that's possible. You are the enemy because you don't agree with me.
Do you know what's really funny though? We've had a discussion, and I know we do disagree about some of this, but we both came up, I think, really quickly with a compromise both of us could live with.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Why aren't we running our respective countries? Oh, I know, because I would be the most hated president ever. Oh, sure.
And so would
because I would tell people flat out, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. If you cannot work together, you are all morons. You should not even be remotely in a position of power. You know what? If I want people arguing and throwing crap everywhere, I would just make the simian exhibit at the zoo, Congress.
Yep.
Because that's exactly what Congress is like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like I said, but I think this is like what we just did right here. That should be what we're encouraging, because what we just did here. We acknowledged our concerns, and we figured out a way. We talked about it, and we figured out a way to make it work. Yeah, right.
If only the government could do that.
Well, I see. This is okay. This will be the last thing, and then we will move on. I think it is incumbent upon ourselves at this point in the ball game to have these conversations now. Even if it's on social media or off, because here's the thing. If it were up to me, do you know what I actually, in my perfect world, how to solve this would be? This is do what they do in Japan. I don't talk a damn bit about whether you use a vaccine or not. I don't care. Here's how they do it. They have every comprehensive list of vaccines in the world. They have also other treatments. Then the doctor and the patient make a decision.
Figure it out.
They figure it out. They do it, and nothing is said ever again.
Yep.
And
And you
guess
know
what?
what? And when they're sick, they wear masks if they have to go into public, or they stay home.
Yeah, but here's the thing: they've made that arrangement. They have
Mm-hmm.
the best vaccination program in the world. Why?
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing: no one takes the same regime twice. Why? Everybody's different. And they know
Mm-hmm.
this, and they use their doctors. They actually use all three experts, which is the companies that make the shit, your doctors because they know your history, and you because you know what you feel like with your body. There are three experts, and when we see what's talked about going on, only one is ever referenced. And doctors more often than not take the blame for what happens above, and they have very little control. And that's, I think, a problem not just in the United States, but in Canada too. And like I said, it's not hard. You just have a conversation like this. We figure it out.
Well, because a
And
lot of the doctors here don't know how to listen to their patients anymore. They're
yeah,
so
too.
arrogant.
Yeah,
They feel like they're the end all. They think that it goes from God to them.
yeah,
And that's the problem.
yeah. So
But
there you go. So
yep.
Bryan, I think so. That's the thing. Like in the last year, I've learned how cruel we can be as a people. I've
Mm-hmm.
learned how cruel, but I've also learned that we can still be very kind, and
Mm-hmm.
people can still listen to each other.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
we just need to do it. We just need to do
We
it
just
more.
need to work on it. It's like every other muscle. You got to work
Yeah,
it.
well, that's why I get to interview people all the time and get to do it,
There you
dude.
go.
I think I'm really happy for you. Like I said, I got to figure my own shit out now. I got to figure out my own shit out now, but and I will.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get right down to it, when you get right down to it, man, it seems like you're on your way and you're doing well, and I'm really happy to see you.
Thank you. I'm happy to see you as well. And I hope that we can have these discussions. Hopefully, I'm hoping that it's not going to be another year before we can have our
Oh
discussions
no,
and
absolutely
talks and
not.
everything.
But well, here's the thing, right? I'm a dual citizen, so I like maybe like I said, next year, regardless of how things work out for me, I'm going where I want to go. I really don't
There you
care.
go.
Yeah, I don't care. So good, bad, or indifferent, I don't care. That's where I'm at in my life. Right, I'm doing what
There
I
you
want.
go. You're where you want to be, and
Yeah,
that's what matters.
yeah, exactly.
And that's
So,
where I'm heading to.
mhm. And that's I think ultimately where we all get to at some point in our lives. Just say, you know what, life is what we make of it. I don't want to make it like this anymore.
We'll see. I'm excited to get to the point where I'm just said, F it. I'm doing what I want.
Oh yeah, I got there a long time ago. Now I just got it. Now I just got it. Now I just have to keep working on making what I want more, manifest it, and make it real. And that's yeah, and that's where we go. So here's to continued freedom, at least in the freedom of that. Good luck with everything you're doing. Keep me appraised, man. It's been inspiring to kind of watch you. So
I appreciate it. Thanks. And everyone, go to randomevolve.store, pick up my newest book, Unbreakable Mind, the sequel to Invincible Heart, available now in ebook and print formats from Random Evolve Media. It is the sequel to Invincible Heart, which is the spinoff to Kendra Sauter's Permutation Archive series.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Exactly. So we'll definitely check it out, and definitely check Brian's out. The plot. When is your podcast air right now?
The Plotaholics airs either Sunday or Monday. We're primarily coming out on Sundays. This week, we will be reviewing Suicide Squad. No, The Suicide Squad. It's dropping tomorrow on HBO Max, so we'll be reviewing Suicide Squad. We just finished our Summer Showdown programming series where we did the originals and remakes or long-awaited sequels of films. That was a really good time. You go to plotaholics.com or just put in the Plotaholics wherever you get your podcasts. You'll be able to check us out there. You can also check out the Tandemodium Sports Show on vendettasportsmedia.com. We stream live every Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. Just go to twitch.tv/Vendetta Sports Media.
Mm-hmm. And I'd definitely check them all out. Vendetta Sports Media. Oh, it's that link there. And that will do it. I'm going to be streaming a lot more in the next few days and weeks. I had a interesting Vendetta Sports. Was that what it?
Vendetta Sports Media.
All right, there we go. So I got some great conversations coming up for the rest of this week. Got a cool drink and draw on the weekend with Connie Jalitz. And to everybody watching, listening, well, thanks for watching and or listening, depending on how you did it. Here's my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/justjoshingpodcast. Click the like, follow button if you haven't done so already. My YouTube channel is Joshua Pantellaresco. Hit the like and subscribe button there. My book, Alice Zero, is nominated for the Elgin Award. You can check it out on Amazon. Alice 1 is coming out November 1st. For everybody watching, listening, stay inspired, keep shining in the dark. I will see you tomorrow.